Welcome back to another episode of Stereotherapy. I am your host, Lisa, and today I'm joined by a very special guest, a bud of mine on TikTok we connected with through music, and we are going to be talking about this awesome record. I know why you clicked on it. Before we get into where you want to be by Taking Back Sunday, I want to introduce you to my guest, Jules. I want you to just, whatever you can say to get the people to want to follow you, whatever you'd like to say.
Yeah, I'm Jules Posner. I'm a stand-up comedian based in Philly. I've been doing stand-up comedy for longer than I'd like to admit. But I do perform all over the country and all over the East Coast. I run a show in Philadelphia called Philadelphia Comedy Club that happens twice a month, like usually the first and third Friday of the month in Philadelphia. A nice speakeasy in Queen Village if you're familiar with the area. And yeah, I'm stoked to be here. I don't really get to go off and wax intellectual about emo because I have to pretend to be cool and into more Indian, more just more hip stuff. So it's nice to explore this side of my past and talk to someone who is also very knowledgeable and passionate about something so profoundly corny yet so special.
Right? And isn't that the thing too? Like for a while, like I kind of got away from the music for a while because I was like, again, I have to be cool. I have to be into this music. I went through, of course, that big like indie phase in my life. I think it was like the 2010s where I was like, I can't listen to this emo stuff, what people deem emo and elder emo stuff. And then it came back, and then I'm like, well, I guess it's cool now. I guess it's all right. Maybe I can like it. But then it's weird, like the records I'm gravitating towards, like this one, they've stood the test of time. And then other records I go back and listen to, and I'm like, yeah, there's a reason that's like in 2005, and I shouldn't touch that anymore. Like I don't need to go back to that record anymore and all that. And it's wild. Like even being from in Philly, like my dream venue to go to is the church, obviously. Like that is like I need to explore and go there. Um, for you, what about that music scene? Like what about those venues and just in general about Philly is really cool?
I love being in Philly for that reason specifically. I've been to the church quite a few times now. Like, it's very cool to walk in there and you see like the gross carpeted stage, and like it's so hot and it's so humid down there, regardless of whatever season it is. It's disgusting down there. But there's a lot of history there. Everyone's really excited to be there. And one thing about Philly is that it does have like a pretty tight knit DIY scene. So you do see a lot of the same people. And that's really cool as well. It just makes it feel more communal. It makes it feel more like a happening and not as much of like this kind of trendy thing. Although there have been like a lot of new people exposed to punk and punk adjacent music, regardless of where it would fall under that umbrella. But it's cool to see so many new faces, so many young people, because it's the church is an all ages venue. But there's a lot of other really great spaces, like the Yuki Club is really cool. And even the bigger places like Union Transfer is an amazing place to see shows. So we're pretty lucky to be geographically where we are. It's like a good tour stop between New York, but also it's kind of like a gateway to the rest of the Mid Atlantic and the South. And there's just a lot of venues, and there's house shows. There's all sorts of stuff, weird pop ups, and it's just cool to be around to be a part of that history and to see all the great bands that come out of here and all the great bands that love to stop here. Because one of my favorite things about going to shows in Philly is hearing the bands like gush about how much they love coming to Philly. That's really cool, and I feel like it's nice to be a part of the community that other artists, whether it's comedy or music, really seem to have a fondness for. It's really cool.
Yeah, I even like hearing about Philly and then being out in New Jersey now, like originally from Chicago, was like I wanted to get out to the East Coast for all those reasons, like all those YouTube videos you'd watch of like the church or any just in New Jersey in general, like Asbury Park. And then like being in it, it's like there's just something so special. And I'm lucky where I'm in Central Jersey, where everyone says it doesn't exist, but it does because I live here, I'm here. But like I'm only an hour and a half from Philly. So it's like really helpful of like I can make that drive. I can do that and just get out to venture and see all these cool venues. And you're right, like so many bands, like if they don't come to Jersey, I mean, they're always usually going to Philly. It's Philly,
Mhm.
New York, and then I have to like, all right, which drive? What do I want to do today? Like, how can I like go see the show? Because they're skipping Jersey and like I get it. To them, it's like you can just hop on a train and go do that. But now that I'm getting older, like during the week, I'm like, yeah,
Mhm.
that's not happening on a work night. Like, I'm sorry. Like I'm getting old
Yeah.
there. But yeah, that's so cool. So I'll have to like at some point go to the church because that's like still like it is that bucket list because of those YouTube videos and just the history of that place and just yeah, Philly music that I can talk that all day and like would just pick your brain of like what is going on in Philly. But obviously today we're talking about where you want to be, which it's wild. It came out in 2004 and it was their sophomore record, obviously, but it was also a victory, which I had to like double check because I was like, I thought they were gone by then. Like this is just such a massive record to be on victory, which was wild. And I just remember Warped Tour that year. I saw them play and it was wild. It was literally like to me they were like the biggest band there and rightfully so. But for you, like how did you find this record and like what did you first think of this record?
Man, so you did touch on this earlier, and I just wanted to kind of piggyback off the point you made that in revisiting this record as now, like recently, as I've aged, this one does hold up a lot better than a lot of its peers because not only was it like kind of a very like a massive record in terms of like, oh, emo bands kind of crossing into the mainstream at that time, but also listening back to it, like the production is exceptional. It's really clean. It's really big too.
Yeah.
It's really that's why like another reason why it's surprising that it's on Victory. It sounds like a major label debut, and how much of a push they got and how popular it was felt very major label coded. And there are like conspiracies that maybe Victory was like a quiet subsidiary of a major label, and that's where they got some additional financial backing. But that aside, um, man, so I grew up in California. I grew up in San Francisco, and it is crazy that this came out in 2004. I don't really even remember like exactly how I happened upon Taking Back Sunday because I started to and I think a lot of people around our age had the same music recommendation engine, which was Amazon like purchase suggestions. Like
Hmm.
people also bought this. Um, and I found Taking Back Sunday through getting into Thursday.
Hmm.
Uh, Thursday was kind of like my gateway drug into the more I guess independent emo that wasn't Blink 182 or Green Day, but also like bands that dabbled in more post-hardcore and incorporated more screaming and more rough vocals. So Thursday was kind of like my gateway into that. I found the Cross Out the Eyes video on like on demand Fuse
Yeah.
like would have like their video catalog and I'd be like, this seems interesting. Uh, and then I was super into that. And then Tell All Your Friends was a suggestion. And I wore that LimeWire MP3 out. And then I really was anticipating the next Taking Back Sunday record because Tell All Your Friends really resonated with me. Um, we could do a whole episode on that.
Oh yeah.
It's a 10 out of 10 for sure. Mostly, emotional time and just where it entered my life. It's a 10 out of 10, and maybe it doesn't hold up as well as Where You Want to Be, which is something we'll talk about a little bit more too, I'm sure. But I think the real precursor to Where You Want to Be was when Taking Back Sunday released the music video for You're So Last Summer, and John Nolan and Sean Cooper, the bass player, weren't in that video. They had already been replaced, and you see Fred and Matt in the music video, and you're like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
We love John. This is weird. Who are these guys? Um, so that was a little bit almost unsettling because you're just like, how can they recreate or pick up where they left off if they have these different guys? The chemistry's different, everything's going to be different and wrong. Um, and then I guess a few months after that, they dropped A Decade Under the Influence was the first single.
Mhm.
And that was like one of those I don't remember if it was like a TRL like debut or like it was on MTV and it was on MTV a fair amount and I was stoked. But I was also like, all right, this Fred guy, that dual vocal, I think he's a adequate replacement. Um,
Yeah.
Turned out in hindsight, probably a much more capable replacement than anyone even realized at the time. I think my understanding of music and my appreciation of music was not as sophisticated as it is now. And listening back to it now, you can really hear like, wow, Fred was exceptionally talented lyrically. He immediately took over as the lead guitar, which I don't think a lot of people realize. I think people tend to ascribe that to Eddie, but Fred actually immediately jumped in and was playing leads. The dual vocals were great, the lyrics were really good, and I was really excited about Where You Want to Be to drop because A Decade Under the Influence was such a great debut single for that album. Yeah, like I think the finale of the song, because it starts with such a kind of, just a little guitar lead and it's very pretty and it's very poppy. And then the chorus is like got that very driving anthemic sound. But then the end, how it crescendos, it's like very emotional, the dual lyrics, Fred screaming at the end, like I got it bad. Like it's just very much like, wow, these guys have really leveled up not only in like songwriting, but in intensity. Like Tell All Your Friends had a rawness and a very sweet emotional appeal to it, but this felt much more like these are young adults having a rough time. It felt less childish. And as a incoming senior in high school when that came out, I felt very seen. I was, in my first horrible high school relationship, and I was like, they're expressing a level of pain that I can't articulate, but I'm glad somebody else can because like this is how I feel. Um, and then once the album dropped and the first time he put on the opening track, Set Phasers to Stun, like the little lead guitar comes in and the Say Yes stuff, it's just like, and then it just really takes off. Like it's a very fast, like strong opener with like a great catchy hook. Like the choruses are so rich and they're so just Adam really showcases a lot of vocal range on this and you could tell he really challenges himself vocally on
Yeah.
this. And it does seem like lyrically him and Fred really push each other because the lyrics are a lot more they're still generally centered around relationships and romantic dynamics, but there's still like a lot of angst and a lot of content in the lyrics that are a little bit more poetic and a little bit I mean they kind of border on pretentious, but I think that's what is so appealing to emo and pop punk to younger people is like it's really poetry to us and it's like silly to everyone outside, but like we get it.
Yeah. And
And
that's so wild. Like that's how you're like exactly how I felt about that, where it's like we get it. People like us, like the normies don't get it, but we get it.
yeah, it's like a very inside thing. And then the other context too, and I don't want to like talk about this too much because I don't really want to platform them at this point, but important context is Deja Entendu by Brand New dropped earlier that year. The
Hmm.
whole backstory with their rivalry, Where You Want to Be kind of really had to meet or exceed that in creative quality. Not just commercial success, which I think I'm reasonably certain that Where You Want to Be was a much more popular
Yeah.
album, but they also had to really push themselves creatively, and it's a much more like I think New American Classic is probably like the most ambitious song they wrote in their whole career before probably the Matt Fozzy era of Taking Back Sunday. But I actually like jokingly said to my friend once because we were listening to that song under the influence, but and we were pretty like 10 years removed from that album, and I was just like sitting there on the couch like listening to that song when like the orchestra comes in, and you're just like, what were these guys even doing? Like,
Yeah.
are they trying to like win an Academy Award and like be a movie score? Like the song is actually insane. um
Yeah.
so like that is also like important context that they were really being pushed by their peers because everybody, kind of like what we talked about earlier, a lot of these bands that were like emo wanted to be taken more seriously.
Yeah.
They dabbled with more kind of indie sounds and incorporating kind of more like lo-fi instrumentation or more strings or more, just more, and trying to sound more adult and appeal to a more broad audience. And I think that Where You Want to Be really does excel in that area where it's still accessible to someone young and experiencing heartbreak, but to other adults, like they could kind of really be like, this is a good rock record.
Yeah. Oh, 1,000%. Like that's the thing too. Like I remember like even hearing you talk about like Decade, and I remember that premiere. It had to be MTV, one of those, but like there was this premiere of like the new Taking Back Sunday is coming out. And I remember like also hearing like of obviously like, okay, we're shifting. Like you said, like Matt and Fred are now in the band, and you're like, what is this? What are they gonna do? Like they just had all this praise and everyone's like, oh my God, Taking Back Sunday, they're so great. And then like you're gonna shift. How is that gonna work? And like changing someone vocally, but like agree with everything you said. Like Fred to me, like this is the part where like the sophomore record definitely to me surpassed the debut. Like I love Tell All Your Friends. It was a great record. It had its time and place for me, but like this one is just like you said, it's massive. You can tell like and they've said too like on record they wanted to push themselves and they wanted to be better and just better musicians. And like that's funny you bring up Deja because again, I don't want to platform brand new either, but when you think about that, like how much they shifted their sound too, and then this, but commercially, I'll have to look it up, but I bet Where You Want to Be definitely surpassed it because like the brand new, the reason they got really big, I mean, is like the whole Tumblr stuff and that phase and then going away. And it's like to me, this record is just it's so good. And I remember finding it because like some of my friends didn't like it because they were like, it's not Tell All Your Friends. It's not the same. I'm like, this is so much better. What are you talking about? Like Bonus Mosh Part 2, like Stepfizers to Stun. Like these are like, and again, New American Classic. That one is like, it's so good. And it just is
Yeah.
so beautiful. And it's like, again, like hearing it live, but it's like, how is this a Taking Back Sunday song? Like I would never, like if you showed me that and then said, started there and then showed me Tell All Your Friends, I'd be like, I mean, the closest they get to it, and it's not even that close, would be maybe Greatest Romances, like that kind of slower, but it's still not the same in any way. But it's like that's the closest they got to it. But I know John Nolan, everybody loves, I adore what he does musically. It's cool they're back together. But I was so stoked to see Fred and the band back together, like to do some shows when John Nolan took some time off. I was like, this is so cool because like Fred is back and like Fred, I feel was just so good. And Matt Fozzy, like that's another one, that era, that whole era, I think doesn't get enough love either. But Fred is just so awesome.
Oh yeah, Fred is he's incredibly gifted. He's super creative. Because I have listened to like, the Color Fred,
Yeah.
like it like in passing, I haven't like given, but like what I've heard is just like, oh yeah, like you can really see the influence he had on Taking Back Sunday. It's hard to like parse out someone's individual influence when they're all collaborating, but when you hear his own project, you're kind of like, I can really see that what he brought to it. And yes, I think Matt Fozzy, as a Bay Area guy, Matt Fozzy deserves his flowers. And if you really want to have a peak Matt Fozzy Taking Back Sunday experience, you should listen to the live acoustic album that Matt Fozzy is on because his guitar playing is perfect. His backup vocals are incredible, and I actually think he steals the show. So that is kind of a sidebar. Go check that out if you really want to love and appreciate what Matt Fozzy's contribution to the project was. But going back to Fred, and this was something that stood out to me because it is tangentially related, but when Matt Rubano joined, I used to play bass. I mean, I still like play, but not really. But I was like a big bass player, and it was very, no offense to Sean Cooper because they were little babies when they wrote Tell All Your Friends,
Yeah.
but you can learn that pretty easily. You can learn all the bass stuff on Tell All Your Friends relatively easily. Matt was so advanced, um, and I had to like research like where did this guy come from?
Yeah.
Turns out Matt was a session musician and he went to Berklee College of Music. So he's actually like a very highly trained bass player. He was like Grammy nominated before the Taking Back Sunday project. So
Wow.
what he brings to the table is like truly professional elite level bass playing, and like if you listen to him in tandem with the drums, you can really see that like he's just all over the place, but he's not disruptive. He's just like does a great job just being in the pocket, like great rhythm section, but he's so advanced and he really showcases a lot of skills that really added a lot of depth to the album. I think like one of the really understated things about Where You Want to Be is how exceptional the rhythm section is with Matt's contributions to that.
Yeah, I didn't even know that about Matt. I mean, I knew he was obviously talented, and I've heard that. And anyone I know in the industry that is like talked, especially like when he departed the band and all that, everybody was like so upset, like industry wise. And they, again, like I'm not gonna bash Taking Back. I don't know the whole story, but they were like, man, like just nothing but good things about Matt Urbano. And I was like, that all makes sense what you're saying, because if he is that kind of person, people knew what he was capable of. And I can say when I've met him, both Matt Fozzy and Rubano, I know Fozzy isn't on this record, the kindest people. Same with Fred. Like I can't speak for Adam. I have some beef with Adam Lazarra. Um, but I get it. Everyone has their bad days. But the kindest. And like that is like you just hear that and it's like this record just has so many songs on it that I'm just like I constantly go back to still. Like we're saying, like it does stand the test of time. Like when I put on a record, I'm usually grabbing for this one or New Again. Like because again,
Mhm.
that one gets I will listen to Tell All Your Friends because like sometimes I do want to hear those songs like from my teen. Like I was a senior in high school too. So like for me it was like that was everything for me. And like going through my first breakup of like then oh I need to listen to greatest romances of the 20th century. Like
Mhm.
I was somewhat I was like, oh God, I'm a teenager. Like what do I know about this and young love and all that. And it's wild to listen to that. But I mean, I guess if we're gonna talk favorite songs, you can pick like a couple, or if there's just one. If you were to pick like maybe two favorite songs, what are your favorite songs on this record?
Um, I'm glad you asked. I would have to say, and even to this day, 180 by Summer, I
Yeah.
think that's still probably one of my favorite songs ever. Like that song, my first time listening to the album in my Saturn station wagon, yeah, that song hit me so hard in so many different ways. There's so much heartbreak and despair and all of that stereotypical like emo sad boy stuff laced throughout. But there's also just really good song composition there. Like similar to A Decade Under the Influence, because they are structured similar in that they have like this big like finale, but the defenseless dependent, like Adam just going crazy high, like to the top of his range at the end. Like there's just like this wailing and this outpouring in the end of that song that is really just like, I think captures the full spirit of what the album was intended to be. And also it hit me so hard as like, an angsty teenager, like dealing with heartbreak for the first time and dealing with a lot of other complicated emotional dynamics, like, all the difficulty and stuff I was having, like in school with like adults and authority, and like all the different issues I was having playing baseball with, like feeling like maybe overlooked and feeling like, having interpersonal conflict within my friend groups and stuff. Like just all of these like big emotional feelings that I was experiencing while in like peak puberty, um, having a sound that really seemed to meet the moment, I think is probably why like 180 by Summer really clings to like my memory. Like it's really just a core definitive song of my life. It probably is the anthem of my teen years. It's just such a beautiful song, and like, yeah, yeah, the end, the flourish is just, it's huge, it's massive, and then like just how it ends with just the ringing of the final notes. It really is just kind of like they're, in my opinion, even more than New American Classic, because I feel like New American Classic is a great song. Um, there's a lot of bells and whistles on it. This is just like really raw, just them in that moment, really pushing themselves, and it's just a great song. So I would say that would probably be one of my favorite songs ever, not just on the album. And then my second choice, that's always tough because you don't want to be like a singles guy.
Right.
Uh, but A Decade Under the Influence really, it announced the direction.
Hmm.
Um, they kind of called their shot. They were like, this is what we sound like with these new guys. It's a little bit darker, it's a little bit louder, but it's more sophisticated, and we're more bratty, but in a smarter way now. And also, this new singer, he rips. Like, this is going to be great. Don't worry. And, once again, it has like excellent shifts in dynamic, quieter, you know, verses with bigger choruses, and then the big flourish at the end, similarly. But I think that, you know, it announced a sea change, and I think that that is what kind of separates where you want to be people, is people that heard that song and were like, "Oh, I'm bought in." They have these new guys. There's a little bit more money behind this project, but they're not selling out, but they're getting
Yeah.
more popular.
Hmm.
That's really important too. There's some integrity behind this. So I think that really was just like, uh, yeah, them calling their shot, and I was in. I would have not heard 180 by Summer probably if I wasn't hooked by the lead single.
Yeah, and I'm that person too. I try not to pick the singles, but sometimes it's like they're just so good. Like I don't care, but like 180 by Summer, that's one I had down, and for the same reasons. Like it's my top, like not even Taking Back Sunday song, but top song. Like if I were to compile like a list of top 10 songs or like top five, it's up there for like it just ever since I heard 180 by Summer, and like specifically that one part you're talking about. Like I think it's like the minute 55 mark, and it goes to like 2 minutes and 30 something, and it is just every time, like if I'm in the gym, if I am just listening to music, whenever that part comes on, I am just like, I'm in. This is why I love this song. And you're right. Like if you didn't like Decade Under the Influence, or even check out that record because you liked that, you wouldn't have found that song. Because like it's not like 180 by Summer like was everywhere. I mean, if you listen to them, it was everywhere. But like there's so many people I know that like if I'm like, oh, what's your favorite Taking Back Sunday song? They're gonna say something like, maybe Tell All Your Friends, maybe something off this record. But 180 by Summer is by far like one of their best they've ever done. And I haven't seen it live in so long because I haven't seen Taking Back Sunday live in so long because like Yeah, there's some stuff there. But I would say New American Classic, but we've already like touched on it. But like Bonus Mosh Part 2, I feel like that song is another favorite of mine because again, like how it sounded. I remember hearing it at Warped Tour. They kind of like debuted it there. And I was like, what is this? Like, and I went, I think, to like get merch and get like they had some red knife on a t-shirt. And I was like, this is so like, I hate to say it, but like emo for the time. Like I'm
Hmm.
wearing this shirt. And they definitely played into that, but like that song just gets me every time too. I don't know if it's just musically how it sounded and again my age, but I still go to those. And I just think there's like so many songs on here that like fit a mood too. Like there's a personality to
Yeah.
them, which is really, really cool in a record. And it's like, I don't know, like sometime these days, like I feel so many people are making these singles. And like, not that
Hmm.
this one didn't have it, but I'm like, this was a record like for you to sit down with and read the lyrics and sit down with. Where like nowadays it's like, all right, here are five singles that are on the record, and you're gonna hear this record in a couple months. And I get it, it's the industry. Like I get
Yeah.
it, they all do it, but like I miss the days where like you only heard Decade and you're like, oh, I want to listen to this, or like even what you brought up earlier, finding them because you like Thursday, but like. I remember, I think it was Tell All Your Friends, and there was a sticker that said like it for fans of Jimmy Eat World. And I was like,
Hmm.
I don't think I would say this sounds like Jimmy Eat World, but I love Jimmy Eat World, so like I'm in. And it's like
Hmm.
we don't have that. Like let's bring back physical. I know there's vinyl and stuff, but like bring back physical media and like moments like that because I don't know if I would be this attached or like run to the store like now. Like when I was a teenager, I would always go to Sam Goody. Like I need to get this record. It's out
Right.
and like fall like I need to go listen to it in the headphones they had and like now we don't have that. I mean, unless you go to like to a record store, but I do that, but it's just not the same.
No, that's a great point too. I'm really glad you mentioned that, is because like this is kind of the tail end too of physical media really being the primary way that you would consume music. And this was a part of that experience. Like I remember like ripping open the CD and like immediately going to like, what are they saying this time? Because
Yeah.
they are hard to understand sometimes. But also, just the ritual of like going to the store, seeing if it's there, saving up your allowance or however you came up with the funds to get it. Like that was all like, and then like finally putting it in my car CD player and stuff and just like letting it rip. I definitely, you know, feel like generations now are missing out on that experience, but it also is kind of like, who even knows? Like maybe since they're not used to consuming stuff that way, that it's not really a factor at all to them. But yeah, I do like, I think that's a great point that you bring up. That kind of like, I wasn't even considering, was like just the wanting to go like physically get the album to just be to have it. Was like such a huge thing to be like, I am a true fan. I went out like release date, got the CD, it's in my car CD player. Like I'm all in on this new record. And another thing that you touched on, that this isn't going to make any sense, but I think it'll make sense to you. So you did mention that like Tell All Your Friends is like a 10 out of 10 in my opinion, but it is very time and place conditional.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't say that Where You Want to Be is a 10 out of 10, but I would still say that it is better than Tell All Your Friends. And like, it's hard to explain that in a way that does make sense, but it just feels like because of the ambition and creativity and the musicianship, where it stands out is far greater than what Tell All Your Friends did. And I also think that each track, well, I do have one hot take. This photograph is proof is bad. I I don't love it. It's really, it doesn't do it for me. So, but I still think all the other songs really make up for that deficit. And my big, I guess my main argument on why like Where You Want to Be would be a better album outside of all the factors I mentioned was when it comes to Tell All Your Friends, like you don't hear a lot of people like, oh, could you put on like Ghost Man on third,
Yeah.
or can you put on Head Club? Like there are a couple songs that are like the Blue Channel. Like these songs work in the context of the album, but aren't really standalone. Where I think the standalone value of each track on Where You Want to Be, for the most part, is greater. The sum of its parts plus the project altogether, I think is just such a elevated version of what Tell All Your Friends was just a stepping stone towards.
No, I love a hot take because everybody like has a song that maybe they don't like. Like my hot take forever is that like the Black Parade just is not the greatest that everybody thinks it is. That people like torch me over it, and I'm like, I'm sorry, I can't. But this photographs proof's not even like I wouldn't say it's a favorite of mine, but like I'm that way with like number five with a bullet. I'm like every time it
Hmm.
comes on, I'm like I'm gonna skip this. Like I don't,
Yeah,
it's just something about it. I don't know what it is. Like yeah, I've come around to it a little more, like listening to it, and like I knew we were going to talk about it, but I'm like, do I still like this, or am I saying I like it because it's all these years later? It's just not for me, and like there's someone else that's probably going to hear that and be like, well, that's my favorite song. But I think that's what's cool about music, is like, but everybody does like. I don't want to say the bros, but some of the bros from back in the day when like my school, they would be like so into this photographs proof. Like they thought they were so
right.
cool because it was so different. They're like, this is the everything. And maybe that's also why I kind of had like a thing with it where I'm like, I was also a big gatekeeper with any band back in the day. I was like, you can't like them. I saw them on MTV and Fuse, or
Hmm.
I like this music. This music is for people like me. They're like the tomboys, not like the preppy girls. Like this is not for you. I was awful. I was young. I've grown. I don't gatekeep music anymore. But it was like that's where I was in that phase. And I think some people were liking those songs because they like wanted to be different. And it's like, but then some really, really love them. So like I get it, but it's like this, I don't know. Like I would consider this one, I wouldn't say 10 out of 10, but maybe an 8 out of 10. But it's,
I'm
yeah, go ahead.
I'm right there with you. I think it is like an 8 out of 10, but like
Yeah.
where it is strong is like far greater than
Yeah.
anything Tell All Your Friends approaches, even in its best moments.
Oh, for sure. And like that's, and again, like if I want to feel my teen angsty self, I'm putting in Tell Your Other Friends. I'm going in the car
Hmm.
and like just like even like listening to music in these records, I think about like the kind of intimate nature of like being in your car. Like I think about that when I was like a teenager. I still feel that way where I'm like, if I want to listen to this song in such a way, I'm cranking it up in the car, like whatever it is, like, or because
Hmm.
like, yeah, I can listen to it in my house and whatever, but it's just different. Like I feel like my teen self again when I'm in the car blasting it and like, yeah, my like older neighbors are like, what is she listening to? And it's like,
Hmm.
I'm not a teenager anymore. I'm sorry, I'm not. But two, like to kind of wrap up our talk about Taking Back Sunday in general, like we talk about all these bands, like I would consider them such like a legacy band of like the everyone calls the elder emo stuff, but just emo in general. And whether people want to call them emo or not, listen, they in back in the day in that era, they were the kings of that. For you, like what do you think like kind of is so special about them that people are like we said, they're still going, whether we do or not, people are still going to go see them. Like they are still doing it all these years later. So like what do you think is so special?
I think like time and place is a huge factor because like you could take a band like Midtown who like probably could have been just as big if they came just like 2 years later.
Hmm.
Like I do, and just like I do think a lot of that has to do with yeah, just a matter of like where they come on the emo timeline. It's just where Taking Back Sunday appears. It's just a perfect time. But a couple of things too that I think really separated Taking Back Sunday from their peers was the dual vocal. I think
Yeah.
really gave an extra dynamic that other bands. Because there are like bands with multiple vocalists, but maybe it's like one strict screamer and one clean vocalist, or two clean vocalists that sound relatively the same. Like this was two pretty distinct vocalists, and Adam, say what you want about his live performance, but his on the record performance, very unique, very bratty. Like he was a great frontman. I think the uh, the mystique and the cosmic pull of Adam Lazarra. Um, it's a star-driven band. He's the star of the show, and I think that really is whether you love him or hate him or just curious about what he's up to now. I think he has a magnetism and a bravado that keeps people interested in what's going on. Um, but I do think that he also had a little bit of like a arrogance and also a lack of self-awareness
Hmm.
that I think people still tend to like hate watch and like memify his bad performances, but we're still talking about him.
Yeah.
And then that's where the true Adam lovers come out in his defense. And I think
Yes.
that like this continually stoking the flame has really worked well for them. I think Adam is as divisive as he is still one of the best frontmen of that era in that genre. And I think that that's really what propels them beyond a lot of like their peers, like Saves the Day or Thursday, like bands kind of in that ilk. But the other thing too is just they really meant they met the moment. Like they really delivered because we're not even talking about Louder Now. That was
Hmm.
huge. Like
Yeah.
most of my friends that aren't emo people but know Taking Back Sunday know Louder Now. So I think how they built off of Tell All Your Friends and what where you want to be led them to and becoming more mainstream and achieving more commercial success. The fact that like they have this kind of a deeper catalog uh, and we're not even talking about their most commercially successful album. So I think that there was still room to grow for them. Although, you know, more purists might disagree that Louder Now was growth. But I do think that that is a huge factor as well, is that we're not even talking about their biggest album, but like there's still so much of an emotional connection to a sophomore album on an independent record label.
Yeah, that's a good point too about Louder Now. Like I remember, gosh, I think that was the spring it came out. And I remember when that came out and everybody like you said, like even people like my brother-in-law, he just turned 32 and he's like getting back into like or getting into all this music and going to shows and like experiencing like Taking Back Sunday for the first time, which is like wild. And like I always give my opinions and he's like, "Oh, you're an old head." I'm like, "Listen, I am, but like it it's just different. It was a different time." But when he goes to see them, he's looking forward to those songs off Louder Now because he's like, "That's my Taking Back Sunday. That's what." And he'll still go back and like the other stuff, but that's what he does. And I just think like again, whether you like the performance now or not, you're right. Like people hate watch him. They hate watch Adam. They want to comment and it's always funny to see like the people that don't like him and the Adam lovers, like the back and forth. I've had some Adam lovers come at me before where I'm like, you can't say he was always like this in the performance because like I have so many like memories of like just how great it was in those early years of Taking Back Sunday. And it was never perfect. Like I'm like, that's not what I was ever looking for, but it's definitely different now and it's in that different phase. But it is cool to still see them still kill it. And like a band that like I grew up on, still there. And whether I want to go see them play, I do that. But it's like they're still out there. And how cool is that?
Mm.
That like all these years later, um, and I do think though that like Adam Lazara, he knows who he is. Like his whole name is like you say Adam Lazara and like somebody has an opinion. Somebody like
Hmm.
or Taking Back Sunday in general and people are like, "Oh, they suck live." Or, "Oh, no, I really love them." Or, "Oh, like they're the best band ever." Like everybody has an opinion on them, but like I think I need to like go see them just to like see them again, get my fix and see what I say now. Like, but I do feel like it differs, at least in their performances, what part of the tour you see them on. Because some people, if you see them early on, they're like, oh my gosh, they were the greatest. And then, like, as it goes, which I think that's like anybody for the most part, sometimes if they're not taking care of that. But like, even though they're like, I wouldn't consider Taking Back Sunday like a favorite band right now that I currently listen to, they're just so important. And I get why, like, in this like resurgence, everybody wants to go see them. Or if they didn't get to see them, they want to. And they're just so important because like we're talking about them. Like everybody is still like talking about them. And whenever I bring them up, people are like, they're just the best. And then they'll
Yeah,
bring up
for
the
sure.
then they'll bring up the performance. But like whatever. Like it's it adds to it. And again, seeing them up with Fred recently, it just brought back so many memories where I was like, that's so cool that they can
I
do
also,
that.
yeah, I thought it was really cool too because the other element too is you always think like these bands like go through these breakups and like people leave because of drama and ill
Yeah,
will, which could be the case. So it's just like nice to see a bunch of adult guys bury the hatchet and just like because this kind of circling back to them being bad live, like no shade to anyone. Like if you just want to go and like vibe out because you like the songs regardless of the quality of the live performance, because everybody has their own reasons for going to see shows. Like by all means, knock yourself out. Like if you want to go see them with Fred, regardless of how it sounds, just because you want to have a good time, then go have a good time. I'm just saying that's not how I want to spend my money. But
right.
it is cool to see them like still, and I've seen like some TikToks of Fred like talking about joining up with them again and just how excited he is to just because I think this kind of speaks to the point of like him and Matt in particular is like Fred is like a true musician and he's just really excited to play shows and I think that's really cool that he's just like I'm just glad to be on stage and like I'm glad we don't have any bad blood. Like I'm just super happy with this whole situation. And that's cool too to see like through all the drama, through all the lineup changes, and you know, through everything through their adult lives that have been pretty public throughout the history of the band, like they are able to still come together at certain points and have a good time and play shows and you know put on a good show for or the best show they can for the fans because I think that's you know they owe it to the fans really. That's what why they're still around is because there are still people willing to argue in TikTok comments over
Yeah.
the quality of the vocal performance. So I yeah, I mean, what is it? You know, it's been oh gosh, like what 22 years, so 2 decades under the influence of the
Whoa.
this album. But
That's wild.
yeah, but it altered my DNA.
Same.
I think it's definitely a formative record, and there are tracks on this record that altered my brain chemistry for forever.
Yeah. Like, yeah, 180 by Summer, like that is one right away. I'm like, that changed everything. And I think also like how I view music too, and like what I look for and those little moments in it. And just, it's so good. And again, Taking Back Sunday, I doubt you're listening to this. If you are, there's no shade. Um, but you see the comments. You know what we're talking about. This is not like, I doubt anyone from Taking Back Sunday is going to listen, but whatever. You never know. It's TikTok and like people do that. But obviously, if anyone is living under a rock and has not heard this record, go listen to it. Tell me in the comments below what you feel about this record. I bet you've heard this. If not, again, go listen to it because like the other day, I think I posted about the Wonder Years and somebody posted that they've never heard the Wonder Years, which is wild to think about like never hearing the Wonder Years. So go listen to this record. And Jules, this has just been so great. I really appreciate all you said. And again, everybody, go follow in the comments. This is what this show's all about, supporting my guests that come on. This has been great, and we'll see you guys next time. All right, bye guys. All
I
right.